Okay, so let's talk about something that's always kind of blown my mind. How is it that a building like the Pantheon is still standing almost perfectly after 2,000 years, but a modern bridge can start to fall apart in just 50? The answer, it turns out, is in this ancient recipe for concrete that's so advanced, we're really only just now figuring out its secrets.
I mean, it's a genuine head scratcher, right? We've got all this incredible modern science, all this advanced engineering, but the stuff we build can fail within a single lifetime. And yet the Romans, without any of our fancy tech, built things that have literally outlasted entire empires. So what on earth did they know that we somehow forgot? And when you look at the stats side by side, the difference is just staggering. Modern concrete, we're lucky if it lasts a century. Roman concrete is still going strong after 2 millennia. But here's the really wild part. It's how it acts in seawater. Our concrete just crumbles and falls apart. Roman concrete, it actually gets stronger. To really get our heads around how this is even possible, let's look at the proof. I mean, the sheer scale and the incredible endurance of these ancient structures, that's our first big clue that something really special is going on here. I mean, just think about the Pantheon in Rome for a second. It's still the world's biggest unreinforced concrete dome. Unreinforced. Modern engineers would have a tough time pulling that off even today. Then you've got the Colosseum, which has survived earthquakes, centuries of bad weather, you name it. And maybe the most amazing examples are the Roman ports, still intact, underwater, in the harsh Mediterranean Sea. It's just incredible.
So, what was in their recipe? What was the secret sauce? Well, it all starts with a very special, very local ingredient that gave their concrete these, well, seemingly magical properties.
All right, so first, a super quick refresher on concrete itself. At its core, all concrete is basically an artificial rock. You've got your binder, which is like the glue. You have an aggregate, rocks and sand. And you've got water. The water reacts with the binder, forms these little crystals, and glues everything together. Simple enough, right? But here, this is the crucial difference. It's all about the binder. Today, we use something called Portland cement. The Romans, though, they used a mix of lime and a specific volcanic ash called pozzolana. And this wasn't just, swapping one thing for another. It totally changed the chemistry of the concrete, creating this far more complex, evolving crystal structure inside. And that unique chemistry is what leads to its most mind-blowing property, the ability to not just resist damage, but to actually repair itself, especially in the one place that is the absolute enemy of modern concrete. And I'm not exaggerating. The very salt water that eats away at the steel and crumbles modern structures is the key ingredient that heals and strengthens Roman concrete. It's this beautiful example of ancient engineers working with nature instead of fighting against it. Okay, so here's how it works. A tiny little crack forms in the concrete. Seawater seeps in, but instead of causing more damage, it kicks off a chemical reaction with that volcanic ash. This reaction actually grows brand new, interlocking crystals. These crystals literally fill up the crack, sealing it shut and making the whole structure even stronger and denser than it was before. It heals itself. This quote just nails it perfectly. The material isn't just sitting there, it's dynamic, it's alive in a way. For centuries, it's been responding to stress by healing itself, behaving less like a dead block of stone and more like a living bone that can mend its own fractures. Now, this ancient wisdom isn't just some cool bit of history. Rediscovering it has become incredibly important because our total reliance on modern concrete has created a gigantic environmental problem. Just look at that number, 8%. Making Portland cement, the key ingredient for our concrete, is responsible for a staggering 8% of all global CO2 emissions. That is more than the entire aviation industry combined. And this huge carbon footprint comes from a couple of things. First, you need an insane amount of energy to heat limestone up to over 1,400 degrees Celsius. And second, the chemical reaction itself releases enormous amounts of trapped CO2 straight into the atmosphere. And what makes the problem even worse is how short-lived our modern concrete is. Because our structures start to crumble every 50 years or so, we get trapped in this endless destructive cycle of tearing things down and rebuilding them. And every new bridge or seawall just pumps another massive cloud of CO2 into the air. So, What if we could break that cycle? By looking way back into the past, scientists are actually starting to figure out a path to a much more durable and much more sustainable future.
And what's wild is that we actually lost this technology for centuries. After the Roman Empire fell, the recipe for this super concrete just vanished for over 1,300 years. It's only really in the last decade or so that modern science, with tools the Romans couldn't have even imagined, has finally cracked the code and figured out the chemistry behind their genius.
So, the goal now is to put this knowledge back to work. Imagine building dams or seawalls that are designed to last for centuries, not just a few decades. Now, there is a catch. Roman concrete sets really, really slowly, which doesn't work for our fast-paced construction world. So the solution researchers are working on is a kind of hybrid concrete, something that gives us the best of both worlds, that ancient Roman durability, but with modern speed.
And in the end, this whole rediscovery really makes you think about our own priorities, doesn't it? This quote says it all. We chose speed, they chose eternity. By studying their work, we're not just learning how to build better stuff, we're learning how to think on a totally different timescale. And maybe, just maybe, that's what we need to build a future that actually lasts.